The Tao of Self-Confidence, episode 462. Welcome to the Tao of Self-Confidence, where I share stories of amazing women who have discovered their inner journey to self-confidence. Visit our website at thetaoofselfconfidence.com. Your inner journey to self-confidence awaits. Well, hello friends. Welcome to the Tao of Self-Confidence, where I share stories of amazing women who have discovered their inner journey to self-confidence. I'm your host today, Sheena Yap Chan, and today I have a phenomenal lady on the show today. She's a model and also a women empowerment advocate, and I'm just really excited to have her on and share her story with us today on self-confidence. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to Kat Gumabao. Kat, how are you today? Maybe you can fill in a little bit more about yourself to our listeners.
Hi, Sheena. I'm good. Thanks for having me here. Okay, a little bit about myself. I'm 29, turning 30 in a couple of months, and I've recently discovered my journey into self-love for maybe about, I would want to say, for the past 4 or 5 years. So it still hasn't been that long since I discovered this part of myself, and I am excited to share it with all of you.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that. And Kat, what's your cultural background?
I basically grew up in the Philippines. I was born in the States, grew up here. I've been around, actually, in terms of culture speaking, I would want to say that I've been exposed to a lot of cultures growing up, both in the Philippines and outside, because I used to travel a lot. So basically, I try to adapt, or I try to learn a little bit about, the cultures that I visit, especially because my mom is from Bicol. It's a province here in the Philippines, and then my dad's from Zambales, and then I have family from different places also, and friends. So I kind of learned, because every place has its own culture, so I kind of like try to get the good and just remove the bad from each and every place that I visit. But in terms of, maybe I grew up as a Catholic, but I became a Christian around 9 years ago. What else? Culturally speaking, because I don't really like to divide things like based on like culture and religion and stuff like that. So I don't really know how to explain my cultural background that well.
Awesome. I think you explained it just fine. So thanks for sharing that. And what would be your favorite self-confidence quote?
Wow, that's tough. Maybe my favorite one would be, "Why choose to blend in when you were born to stand out?" That was a line from a movie, the Amanda Bynes movie, that is entitled "What a Girl Wants."
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that. And I think that's a great quote. I mean, especially, living in the world where we feel like we always have to blend in, not realizing standing out is actually a lot better than we realize. So thanks for sharing that great quote.
Also because like we live in a society, or we live in a world that constantly tells us to be how they want everyone to be, with us thinking that that's how we're supposed to live our lives, and yet in reality we forget the main fact that we were all born different to begin with. So fitting into a certain mold of society is never supposed to be part of how we are, because just because that's not how we're designed to be.
I totally agree with that, and thanks again for sharing it. And, in your own words, how do you define self-confidence?
Self-confidence to me is just the ability to know that you're worth it, that no matter what happens in your life, you know that you are meant for greater things, and that you hold your head up high to a certain degree, because you know that you deserve the best in life. Just not because of what society says you are, but because of who you are and what you can give to the world. So for me, self-confidence is if you can just look at yourself in the mirror and just say, you know what, this is me, and accept me or hate me, I don't care, because I love myself.
Thanks for sharing that. And, that was a great definition that you mentioned. And Kat, what was your life like before your discovery of self-confidence?
Before I discovered self-confidence, I would want to say, I was always safe. Like before, I remember I'd always want to wear black, because according to everyone, black makes you thin. I would always try to please everyone by just basically saying yes, by doing things not because I wanted to do them, but because, other people wanted to do them. It was always defensive in a way that I always lived in a defensive state, in a way that I would always try to make it seem as if I was confident, but in reality, I had so many insecurities about myself. So that was before I discovered everything and before I really learned what it meant to be loved, to be, to be beautiful in my own eyes, to love myself more, just to give back to society what I can give, not what I want to be able to give just because other people say that this is what I have to give. So yeah, it was a pretentious life, thinking that I was strong, but in reality I wasn't.
Thanks for sharing that. And I think, it's something we all can relate, especially playing it safe, especially in the Philippines, it's like we just follow one way of living and especially pleasing others. It's like we're not the good daughter or wife or sister for not putting others before us. And, not that it's wrong, but also it can hurt us in the end. And, what was that point in your life where you realized, you are worthy of doing amazing things, being the person that you are today? What was that aha moment?
There's no specific moment, but I would say that it was like maybe the first 3 months in my life where I actually came from a heartbreak, and my friend really told me that, you know what, you have to wake up, you have to shake this off and continue your life, because for sure he's not the only one in this world meant for you. And then that's when I started diving into the Bible more. That's also when I started to, what do you call this, to I took up theology, like a master's degree in theology. And then that's when I started really understanding the Word of God and really reading more and just allowing it to resonate to me more, allowing it to sink into me more, allowing it to really saturate my life. And within the first 3 months of my course, that's actually when I realized that, hey, you know what, I was beautifully and fearfully made in the image and the likeness of the Lord. And if this perfect God that we have loves me unconditionally despite my imperfections, then who is man to say that I am not worth it of his time? Who is man? Man, not just men, okay? Man, I mean man in like a mankind sort of context. That's when I realized that, you know what, I'm not going to allow people to say that I am not worthy, that I am not enough, that I am not meant to do things that I want to do just because they think that I don't fit the norm of their standards. Because I know myself, I know that I am loved, I know that I am made, like I said, wonderfully and fearfully made in the eyes of God, because he created us in his image and his likeness. And that for me was the turning point in my life wherein I realized that, hey, enough is enough, let go of what weighs you down and just continue with the love of the Lord in your heart. And that's what really pulled me out of the darkness and the pretentious life I was living for the past 20 plus years.
Thanks for sharing that. I think when we can realize that we can love ourselves with our flaws, it really is a great thing. And especially, when something bad happens in our life, like a heartbreak, right? We feel like it's the end of the world, but really it's just the beginning of, a new opportunity, a new beginning. And when people can see that, that's when everything that they want can come to them, attract to them. And, because of these realizations, what's your life been like now?
I've never been more free. Life now is, to me, I see life now as an endless possibility, just because I keep going for what I want in life, knowing that this is how I can give back to people. I've discovered, because of my discovery of self-love and self-confidence, I've taken further steps into furthering my career when it comes to modeling. I am trying to get out of the Philippines. I'm trying to do it internationally, I went to Australia last year. I'm going to Paris this year. Hopefully I make my way to, Canada and New York, because that's also one of the biggest markets for plus size modeling. And before, I would always limit myself into thinking that, no, I can't do it because this is what other people say. This is what, society dictates. This is what, no one has ever done it before. But the thing is, no one has ever tried. So now, because of what I discovered in myself, I'm actually slowly realizing that life is an endless possibility, and there's so much more that you can do and that can happen to you only if you open your eyes and open your heart and open your doors to so many possibilities in the world.
Thanks for sharing that. And I love how you mentioned, just because no one's ever done it doesn't mean you can go out there and try it, right? I think people forget that just because maybe, there's an industry where it might not be seen as much. I mean, you can be the trendsetter. You can go out there and be that change. And when you are that change, that's when even more change happens, and creating that impact, realizing if one person can do it, then another person can do it, and another and another and another. So I think that's a great point that you mentioned. And, to the woman who's listening to your episode, she may be in her own journey of self-confidence. What would be that one tip you would give to her?
Now, the one thing I would say is not because it hasn't worked for anyone means that it won't work for you, because we live a life that is not even close to identical as someone else. And just because it hasn't worked for anyone else, or just because no one else has ever thought about doing it, doesn't mean that you won't be able to do it. So whatever dream you have in your heart, whatever issues you have that's weighing you down, I just want to say that I know it's easier said than done to let it go and, move on, but find it in your heart, find the strength in your heart to be able to do that, because once you do it, then you will open your life to so much more freedom to live a life of who you really are, and not who society wants you to be. And I really hope that you be able to embrace that, because I know it's scary in the beginning, and I want you to know that I'm here for you. I'm sure Sheena is also here for you, and that if you have any questions or anything you want to discuss, my lines are always open. I try to reply to people as much as I can and as fast as I can. So I really want to help each and every one of you that's going through the same problem that I went through before. And if you want, advice or whatever, then just hit me up, and I promise I will reply one way or another.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that. And Kat, if our listeners do want to, get to know you or send you a message, is there any links or social media profiles we can connect with?
Yeah, you can follow me or connect with me on Instagram, on Twitter. That's Katarina, Katarinuh. And then you can also follow me on Facebook. My public page is Kat Gumabao. So you can just follow me on all those, or message me in wherever, and then I usually check it every other day, the messages, so that I can get to reply to everyone that sends me messages.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that. And to our listeners, if you want to connect with Kat, you can also head on over to thetowofselfconfidence.com and search for Kat's name. Her show notes will pop up along with everything else we talked about. And I just want to thank Kat for taking the time to share her story and tips with us on self-confidence. So thank you so much, Kat.
Thank you, Sheena. Thank you so much for having me. And it's been an honor to be able to share my insights to you and, of course, your listeners, because I actually really believe that the only solution to everything bad in the world is really self-love. And as soon as we each embrace who we really are, then we will not be afraid of the things or the people or the cultures that we don't know. Therefore, it'll eliminate a lot of hatred, a lot of wars, hopefully. And I really hope that people start embracing who they are, just because it's a much more beautiful life to love who you are and to be able to be confident in the skin that you are born with.
Awesome. And I totally agree. I believe love always wins. So thanks for sharing that. And it was an honor having you on the show. And to our listeners, be on the lookout for another new episode of another amazing woman's journey to self-confidence. And we'll talk to you soon. Bye for now. Thank you for tuning in to another amazing episode of The Tao of Self-Confidence. Visit our website at thetowofselfconfidence.com to check out cool resources, blog articles, show recaps, and so much more. Your inner journey to self-confidence awaits.